The home court advantage we had in adapting In the Heights into a film was Chiara, who is a Pulitzer Prize winning playwright and my collaborator on writing the show. So I'm so thrilled that she was the creator of our screenplay, because I think she made really smart but really bold decisions in terms of the way in which this adapts to the screen. Everything from, instead of it taking place over 3 days, taking place over the course of a summer. So we have more time and we have more space, to things that really came out as a result of our collaboration. I remember Chiara and John went on one of the first tech scouts. We just walked John and our producers around our neighborhood, showing them the heights that was important to us as residents. And Highbridge Pool was something that we came across in our travels, and them looking at each other being like, can 96,000 live here? And us learning that no movie's ever filmed in Highbridge Pool before, and to find virgin territory in Manhattan Island to film a musical sequence really was so inspired. So it really, you know, every moment on that screen is a collaboration between the filmmakers and Chiara and I, the original writers. Well, yeah, I mean, it's no accident that the only new song in the movie takes place over the closing credits, because we wanted to fight for every song that we could in our screen adaptation, every song that made sense for telling the story of the screen adaptation. And what's really thrilling is that the songs presented themselves in a different order. You know, Paciencia y Fe is in our movie, but it happens in a totally different moment in the film, and that revealed new aspects of Abuela Claudia, and that revealed new aspects of our journey. And so in adapting to the screen, we found ourselves surprised by the characters and when they chose to sing. But you know, it was a joy figuring out how to adapt these songs. And as a songwriter, I have to tell you, there's nothing more gratifying than writing songs about a neighborhood you love so much, and then actually getting to stage them in the neighborhood you love so much. So to see When You're Home take place in J. Hood Wright Park, where my wife can see her grandmother's building, where her grandmother grew up, in the frame, to see the George Washington Bridge in When the Sun Goes Down, which I remember from one of my first dates with my wife, and us walking around the neighborhood and sort of sharing this neighborhood we'd grown up in, but not together. You know, so it's very emotional to see the music work in the neighborhood it's about. I saw him play Usnavi in a production at the Kennedy Center, and it was actually directed by a Heights alum, Stephanie Clemens. And I wrote a long Twitter thread that you should just post here, because it was, you know, I met him on Hamilton, obviously worked with him on Hamilton, but the way in which he inhabited Usnavi, it was like a tailor-fitted tux, that part for him. It is everything about Usnavi that we love is also what we love about Anthony. He's got an incredible heart. He represents his neighborhood and his city so beautifully, like it comes out of his pores. And he's so talented. He's such a gifted singer and rapper and actor. It was just like, oh, I didn't write this part. When I watched him, I said, I didn't write this part for me. I wrote it for him. I just didn't know it yet. I'm going on 20 years with In the Heights in my life, and we're finally hitting the big screen. And so Paciencia y Fe has been the guiding principle through all of this, first with my incredible creative team on Broadway, and I really give Tommy Kail a lot of the credit for the Paciencia y Fe, because I wanted to just have the show running, and Tommy's the one who really workshopped it with Chiara and I until it was ready. Not when we feel like we want it, but when it's ready, and shepherded it to Broadway beautifully. And then the past few years with John M. Chu, and seeing his passion for the project as a son of immigrants, and how it felt like a personal family project to him, watching him translate it to the screen so beautifully and perfectly. Well, it's funny, I felt enormous responsibility, not only as someone who has written about the neighborhood, but a resident of the neighborhood. I didn't, this movie can't be bad because I live here. I'm going to hear it from my neighbors for the rest of my life, what people think of this. And so I remember going to those open calls. Kiara and I went to the open neighborhood casting calls to basically be like, please be a part of this because this is going to be really special. We really wanted to enter the neighborhood as fellow residents, not as this giant movie imposing on the neighborhood. We were embraced beautifully by the neighborhood. One of the things I said early and often to people passing by, I said, I know we're messing up your parking, but your block is gonna live forever. If we do this right, this neighborhood's gonna live forever in this way. And so, I could tell you so many stories of neighbors bringing out food to the crew and residents who just sort of showed up day after day and ended up in the movie by virtue of their love for what was happening on their streets. And I really wanted to feel like the neighborhood's movie because I'm a resident of that neighborhood too, and I'm so proud of it. This is a full family movie. This is a movie that my kids couldn't stop coming to set to watch the songs. My kids were born way after I wrote In the Heights. So to them, In the Heights is this new thing. They grew up in Hamilton, but In the Heights is this new thing. And I really think this is one of those movies where you bring abuela, you bring your kids, you bring a date. There's beautiful love stories in this, but there's also, it's one of the things that we noticed when we were running on Broadway was, people would tell me at the stage door, I came with a date, but I have to come back with my mom. Or I came with, my parents drags me, but I have to bring my best friend because we're just like Daniela and Carla. And I feel like everyone sees someone on that screen that relates back to their life. And so I feel like this is going to be a big group outing. Well, I was dragged kicking and screaming into this movie. And I think a part of it was, honestly, my own nervousness. It was, I worked very hard to create the best stage production of this show. John is going to do an amazing job creating this movie, and he should get to own that, and I don't need to be in it, and I can just sort of give my blessing and be on the sidelines and cheer everyone on. And as we got through pre-production and I saw how special this thing was and what was emerging in these rehearsals, and John being like, you have to do Piragua Guy, you have to do Piragua Guy. I mean, it's really John's credit that I played Piragua Guy to the point where I saw what he was creating and I wanted to be a part of it. I think at one point Kiara said to me, if you didn't write this, you'd be begging to be in this movie, so what are you doing? And she was right, it was so special. And in my heart, I think of the incredible Eliseo Román, who originated the role of Piragüero on Broadway, and contributed vocals to this movie as well. But while I was playing Piragüero, I really was channeling my grandfather. I'm holding his old vaquero novel. I've got his glasses with the string around my neck. I really just, I'm playing my grandpa. I'm playing my abuelo, who he passed away the week after we opened off Broadway, and so it's always been tied up. This show's always been tied up with him for me. John has he's just been so sure-footed about what he wanted. And I give him enormous credit for dreaming even bigger than I did. I always felt like, well, it's in the Heights, it takes place uptown, we're gonna be this tiny little indie musical. And John was the one who I think really learned on Crazy Rich Asians, we're allowed to take up space. There's no reason, In the Heights is a big musical. There's no reason we shouldn't take the big swings that the other mainstream musicals are taking. And there's no difference between us and them. And I really give him enormous credit for dreaming bigger than the rest of us and putting it all on screen.